Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now August 23rd of 2020, and ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are indeed heading in a more positive direction, given that Kathleen Kennedy no longer has any form of creative control over this new Star Wars universe, except for the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV series, and that's it. And that just goes to tell us, the Star Wars community, that there's a lot more to offer by Disney in order to really get the ball rolling again when it comes to the franchise, and really bringing it back to a point in time to the pre-Disney era. Now, when we look at everything related to what they plan to do on Disney Plus, they already have a handful of Star Wars projects in the works, such as the Kenobi TV series, The Mandalorian Season 2 and Season 3, and let's not forget about even, of course, the upcoming Ahsoka Tano TV series. There's so much more than that in the works than we currently know. Now, when we look at everything related to the movies, that's also another addition that's going to expand this new Star Wars universe, if you will. Now, what's really exciting all has to do with the character of Luke Skywalker and what Disney and Lucasfilm plan to do with this new Star Wars universe for the character of Luke. Now, traditionally, Luke was portrayed by Mark Hamill in the originals and even in the sequel trilogy of movies, even though in the sequels a lot of fans were very upset with how the character of Luke was portrayed by director Rian Johnson and what Kathleen Kennedy did to the character in The Rise of Skywalker by deleting so many scenes. Now, of course, what's really exciting is that since the very end of the Skywalker saga, both Disney and Lucasfilm have been developing their new Star Wars universe in order to deliver a brand new mythology to the Star Wars fandom around the world. It's explained that Bob Iger and Chapek have been hard at work by creating plans to reunite the Star Wars fanbase. One major change to the Star Wars franchise has all to do with the character of Luke Skywalker and what it means for Mark Hamill. Now, recently Bob Chapek made the ultimate decision to recast Luke and to replace Mark Hamill with Sebastian Stan. Mark Hamill was originally going to play a big role in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, however a recast was a cheaper option to go with. It's described that they aim to create a special type of chemistry between a young Luke Skywalker and a young Mara Jade in a major way in The Mandalorian Season 3, and even for the planned young Luke Skywalker TV series, where it's noted that the plan for Sebastian Stan taking over the role of Luke Skywalker is for Stan to go through a series of training and analyzing of the character of Luke, played by Hamill, in order to get the mannerisms down, and the same detailed, abandoned stories from Star Wars Legends are also set to be used for Stan's version of Luke Skywalker in this new Star Wars universe. Not just that, but they also aim to give Luke his iconic green lightsaber as well as a brand new one that fans have never seen before in the Star Wars franchise. Now, it's noted that George Lucas is set to deliver Stan's version of Luke to obtain and use a white lightsaber blade in The Mandalorian Season 3 for a brief period of time that dates back to the High Republic era of Star Wars. So here's the thing about this. This is a very good tie-in to the High Republic era, in case you guys are very much unaware about what the High Republic era really is. Essentially, what it really is at the end of the day, it's a timeline that takes place roughly 200 years before the Phantom Menace, that is really going to explore a moment in between the Old Republic and the prequel trilogy era that fans have never seen before. So we got a series of books and TV shows in the works for this timeline that George, John, and Dave are working on. Kathleen Kennedy initially was working on a series of movies that were recently canceled by the Disney CEO Bob Chapek. Now, this white lightsaber blade will be the newest addition of colors to be seen in a live-action form, per se, and that Dave Filoni will have some creative choices over the hilt's design for the third season. Further, the young Luke by Sebastian Stan will also have a slightly different personality, showing the fans of how wise Luke has become over the years after Yoda told him to pass on what he had learned. Now, of course, Stan's version of Luke will be protected, or perfected, if you will, through two techniques: a series of makeup techniques on Sebastian Stan's face and low-level CGI for slight facial structure redesigns to flawlessly match young Mark Hamill's face in order to make it seamless for the fans. Now, this low-level CGI is not necessarily de-aging technology, but rather adding on certain features to the face very slightly to create new flaws, of course no flaws in Stan's appearance as Luke, and is of course only as described to be a cheaper option than if they are actually do full-fledged de-aging technology on Mark Hamill. Now, though Mark Hamill is still slated to be a part of The Mandalorian Season 3 at a minimum, Stan is the main focus for Luke's return in that show, and the young Luke Skywalker TV series that will explore dozens of missions between himself, R2, Lor San Tekka, and even Mara Jade in the new Star Wars universe for the fans to witness, where initially Kathleen Kennedy did not want Stan to become the new Luke, and wanted Luke to be inserted into The Mandalorian. Now, of course, Kennedy did not want that to actually happen for The Mandalorian. What we actually saw is that we had George, John, and Dave come together as a team in order to really make all of this happen. So let's go over the very big technique that Disney plans to do to really create a flawless version of a young Mark Hamill as Luke by using a new actor, Sebastian Stan. Now, they plan to use makeup and low-level CGI. Now, this low-level CGI most likely is to perfect, certain facial structures that don't necessarily match up to Mark Hamill's. If you look at Stan and Mark, both at a young age, they are very similar, but they do have their differences. And that's exactly what they want to actually fix to create a flawless image of a young Luke. They realize that a lot of fans could very well be very offended or let down, if you will, if, let's say, for example, Stan does not get the mannerisms down, or if in certain angles Stan does not look like Luke. That's exactly what they have to perfect and or prevent. They have to actually use those techniques to make it flawless on all angles for Mark Hamill, to actually pretty much line directly up with Stan's version. So the other thing that I think a lot of fans are very curious about is exactly what's going on with this new lightsaber design. What's the real use of this? Is it even, a necessity, or even, a thing that Lucasfilm should even go about doing by giving Luke a new saber? It is a very interesting scenario here that they are aiming to give Luke a brand new one that dates back to the High Republic era. Again, this does in fact align directly up with how Lor San Tekka and Luke went on hundreds of missions to discover and protect Jedi lore. So, it's pretty safe to say that this High Republic era saber most likely was not created, obviously, by Luke, or even repaired at that, but rather discovered in an ancient city or whatever it may be that dates back to that specific timeline. Now, the High Republic, in case you guys did not know, is really going to be a big era. It's going to be 200 years before Episode 1. It's going to include new types of Jedi and armor, which is also what they aim to do with Luke in a couple of scenes for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, to give him a set of armor, and even in the other projects that are currently in the works. The other thing that I think a lot of fans are really questioning about right now that's very, very important is exactly, is Sebastian Stan going to sound like Luke? How do you really get that down, right? If you have seen Stan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you will see that he does sound pretty different from Mark Hamill in a lot of different scenarios. For him to really get that down, to really actually copy Mark Hamill's voice, and specifically of how the character of Luke talked in the original trilogy, as far as everything else goes, that's going to take also a lot of training to do. You really got to get that done correctly, because I think that Alden Ehrenreich was an okay choice. I just don't think he was a great choice. I feel like that his voice was off. It didn't really feel like Han Solo at a younger age, for me at least. That's just how I saw things. And as far as his face went, again, it was like certain angles you could say, oh, that's Harrison Ford, but then other angles, it would just be like, that's somebody completely different. So that's what Disney wants to prevent, is that they don't want another Alden Ehrenreich scenario, where they get a split fan base on how they feel about that choice. So whatever, the case may be, a lot of fans are still going to be very happy to have Luke return. And with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.